As I look to the horizon, not a cloud, but then stormy weather's go too cold. Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes. You're done, but the time is hit you, you're not surprised.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my god, stop your fucking lying.
How do whole heat and preach non-violence? He about to start speech, come on, silence. On one starry night, I saw the light, heard a voice that sound like Barry White, said sure you're right. Don't let me find out who trying to bite. They better off going to fly a kite in a firefight during tornado time with no coke and I caught ya. Wrote the book on rhymes, a note from the author with no headshot. He said it's been a while, got a breadwinner style to get an inner child to finna smile. And that's no exaggeration. The doctor told the patient it's all in your imagination, Negro. What do he know about the buttery flow? He need to cut the ego. Tripping. To date the metal fellow been ripping flows since New York plates was ghetto yellow with broke blue writing. This is too exciting. Folks leave out the show feeling truly enlightened. They say the villain been spitting enough lightning. The rock shocked the boogie down to Brighton. I did.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News. How you guys doing? Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a very eventful couple of days. We're going to go back to the 12th of February, which was only a couple days ago, and we're going to break down a little bit about Phil and this new girlfriend. Oh boy. Oh boy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there will be no actual sound bites from any videos or anything. I've kind of covered just about everything leading up to this point, plus or minus a couple of little tidbits that I may have missed, or I just didn't feel need to put into the video. Now, D, which you, as you know, is a friend of the channel, as well as Memology 101, do have some very interesting tidbit videos that came out recently. I will find those for you, and I will put those in my description. That you don't see it when this video initially drops, it will be in at least in a day or so. I just need to make sure I go and find them, and those are the right videos I want to use. So look out for that. First things first, let's go ahead and give a special shout out to probably the youngest viewer on this channel. So a big shout out goes to 8-month-old Sean. How you doing, Sean? I hope you're doing well. He is by far probably the youngest viewer that we have on this network. And that shout out comes from your mother and father. Your father in particular, Redskin Lupe 11. So shouts out to you, Sean. I'm glad that at the tender age of 8 months old, You can see through Phil's crap too. Life's gonna be good for you, young man. Life's gonna be good for you. Now let's go ahead and get on to how this situation is going to play out. The new girlfriend. That's what you guys are all here for. We don't have a real name on her yet, believe it or not. So the whole alleged we've taken precautions against her being doxxed kind of rang true. So there you go with that. But the name she goes by, her handle is Kat. She's also known as Chaos Realm Online, which means that there's a problem, right? I know some of you are like, yo, GTG, wait a second. What do you mean online? Chaos Realm, what is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that apparently is the name of her Twitter handle. It's also the name of her YouTube channel, yes, YouTube channel, as well as her Twitch. So apparently Philip decided to lie to us as it pertains to her online presence, saying that she didn't have one, saying that she didn't have any aspirations of wanting one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's not true at all. Now, this all of this right here comes off the culmination, so to speak, of a situation where people had told Phil for the last couple of weeks, do not put that girl's face out there. Here at this network, I've told him, do not put that lady's face out there. You do it, she's done. She's merely food now, if you go ahead and do that. If you want to be proud of her, if you want to go ahead and do the trophy wife situation, that's fine, but you can do it in other ways without exposing her. But Phil didn't take up that message. Phil was like, I'm going to do what I want because the rest of us are just idiots. And not just the detractors, but to his own fan base. The very fan base who pleaded with him for weeks, stream in, stream out. Hey, Phil, we're really happy about your girlfriend. We're really happy about this, that, and the third. Please do not put her out there. Don't do it, Phil. Give her some time to get into the house, get accustomed to the state, let her get into her maid duties and stuff. Don't put her out there right away. Phil didn't listen, ladies and gentlemen. Because of that, there's consequences. And the consequences come swift. Life comes at you fast, ladies and gentlemen. 20 minutes. 20 minutes is all it took to find these 3 pieces of information. The mining is still continuing as far as I'm concerned. As far as my understanding, as far as the sources that we have. But 20 minutes is all it took. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me throw something at you guys for just a second. It's not just the fact that there was 20 minutes out there, but there was a bounty out there. Check this out. So I go over there to Kiwi Farms because I like Kiwi Farms. They're very informative. The moment the picture was put out by Phil on Instagram, showing him in his very joyous, exuberant face with his new girlfriend, who has a very, she seems very energetic. We'll leave it for that, right? We'll leave it to that right now. Apparently, somebody on Kiwi Farms grabbed the picture and was like, all right, guys, clock's ticking. Make it happen. And people came through. 20 minutes to the winner of that race, and then there you go. Now, she went dark, or she went MIA, about roughly 8 months ago, give or take. So on Twitter it was a little different. We haven't seen much about her since April. So she, if you want to call that precautions, Phil, I guess you could call it that, but we'll address that later, won't we? But let me give you guys something that's a little bit more interesting. So apparently she does like her games. If you go to her YouTube channel, she has about 3 of them or so that she's been really playing and enjoying. And, but nothing serious. But that doesn't take away from her being a serious gamer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember in a previous report, Phil had some of her stuff delivered to him while he was getting rid of the old shit. That's what he refers to the old girlfriend now. Her and her old shit that was still up in that other room. Sorry about that, Sean. I know you're young, but my bad. I'll try to keep the language at a minimum. With that being said, he needed his little hand cart to go ahead and help him wheel that 50 pounds of stuff upstairs. Real man stuff. Take notes, Sean. Take notes. And now the situation comes about to where he's now on Twitter kind of in a miniature rant about how good her PC is and how he loves the response time and how he's just being amazed by this whole situation and this whole new world that his girlfriend's introducing him to. Do you think he's about to go back and become a computer elitist? Is he really going back and trying to delve back into his PC days? You know, ladies and gentlemen, those days of Quake and Unreal Tournament when he used to build PCs, you know, when he used to live at home. Interesting. But Phil, you have a background with custom PCs. You know, the $3,000 dud lemon, as people call it, and then the one that those two guys who really looked up to you built, and you went into a rant and a tizzy about how the front was cracked and how the actual PC itself didn't work up to its full capacity, when all you had to do was crack open the case, check the RAM, and readjust the fan. There was one more thing I think that might have been wrong too, but I think that was the gist of it. Interesting. We'll have to go ahead and do some more investigating reporting on that. As for this young lady, we don't know where she's from yet. If you see her on Twitter, it says that her location is Japan. Proxy location, but she seems to very much like her anime. She's not completely familiar with the customs of Japan, but she's learning. And that's a good thing, because somebody in that house needs to learn something. Not only that, she, in my humble, honest opinion, let me take a sip of my bourbon here. All right. Delicious. In my humble opinion, she comes across as a very nice woman, to be honest with you. She seems very energetic. As a streamer, she's kind of bland to me, kind of vanilla-ish, but she seems nice enough. She could be engaging. She's someone that you could see having a conversation with. She's certainly better than Phil, by far. At the same, and as most people will point out, her voice isn't as annoying as Leanna's, so that's a bonus. She seems like a genuinely nice person, and she might do Phil some good, maybe. And she has a very glowing smile. Let's just say that. I'll have pictures throughout the video so you guys can see what I'm saying. I've heard comparisons of certain four-leg animals. Jim Carrey's The Mask. I said that in another video for another channel. The infamous troll face. She seems like a nice enough person, to be honest with you. And she doesn't look that bad. I know there's a large comparison about who looks better. We'll save that for another conversation. But in any case, she is there. And Phil was rather joyous. You'll see throughout the pictures in the video where he seems incredibly happy. He can barely contain himself. He can't even make the gout that's in his bottom jaw go ahead and sliver up into what seems like a smile because he's just so enthused. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman's going to be a sacrifice, but we'll talk about that later. So what has Phil done so far? He has lied to us about any type of internet presence that she had whatsoever, or her ambitions, even though by the giving of her rig and how much she likes Overwatch, she may want to make some videos. She seems to actually like doing videos and streaming. If you go to her channel, I'll have a link to that in the description too if you guys want to go to it, because a lot of people have been subbing to her channel lately, as well onto her on Twitch, as well as onto her on Twitter, or people have been following her, I should say. She's growing herself a nice little situation there, and she don't even know it yet. So there you go. But she seems to very much love her games, and she seems to enjoy them. When you see her on stream, she goes into these long dialogues when she was playing Persona, and she seemed to have a generally good time with it. It's going to be hard to kind of hold that back from letting her go online and maybe doing her thing. I don't know if she knows. I don't know if she's ready for what's going to come next, but please believe, young lady, it's coming. Also, I think the young lady is, let's see here, Kevin has it in my notes here. She is 27/28. So yet again, Phil liking him young, and apparently liking to mess with people with animal names. That's cute. Being that, ladies and gentlemen, that Valentine's Day has just passed, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about a little bit about Phil's disposable income. Phil apparently decided to splurge on her for Valentine's Day. Oh, and I mean, went to the mall, did a little bit of shopping, bought her some nice, very, very nice jewelry, and had an absolutely ecstatic, an absolutely eventful dinner. Just an absolutely romantic night all around. Who paid for all that, by the way, Phil? I'm just curious, because all the money that you're supposed to be getting from Patreon and Twitch and all that was supposed to go right to your taxes. The taxes that you have in April. The taxes that you have in April is what's causing you to go ahead and have another fundraiser in April. But wait a second, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go ahead. The bourbon hasn't kicked in yet. You did say in the fundraiser you had in December/January that you said that there were some residuals that you still had left over that you were saving for your taxes that were coming in April, did you not? So all of a sudden, the girlfriend moves from across country. We don't know exactly where she's from yet. and we assume that you helped at least flip the bill on some of that. And then you purchase all this nice stuff for your girlfriend, a new house, a new car. Oh, I'm sorry. I let that go a little bit too soon. We'll talk about that in a second, though. We'll talk about that in a second. Oh my gosh, I let that slip. My bad. You bought her new work clothes, brand new cell phone. You had to put her on the insurance. You had a lot of stuff going on, Phil. And now there's talks of this brand new car that you might have purchased for her. Huh? Ladies and gentlemen, somebody on Kiwi Farm, well, somebody in general, I won't say Kiwi Farms actually did it because I have no proof of that. Not that I'm mad at it. But someone was able to get a hold of Phil's auto insurance. So you see the Jaguar, or not the Jaguar, sorry. He's not elegant enough for that. You saw the BMW. You saw when the BMW got taken off. I'll try to have screenshots of that if I can. And then you saw his new car. It's a Toyota Camry, I think. So you see these three cars, and you see him, or you can see what's allegedly it looks like he's getting ready to add somebody else onto the policy. Not just that, it looks like he may be adding a new vehicle onto the policy too, possibly new. We're still chasing down the leads on this, so please give us some time on that. New car in the works. That's great. Next thing, let's talk about the girlfriend and a little bit about her and her actual PC skills. Apparently, Overwatch is her taste. Overwatch is how she gets hers. That's gonna be good because if I remember correctly, Almighty Tevin also plays Overwatch. I don't know if he plays on PC or not, but I think Almighty Tevin plays. I play on console personally, but apparently she has a pretty interesting, record as it pertains to that. Matter of fact, Kiwi Farms yet again was able to provide actual records of her, which is public knowledge. All you have to do is look up the person and you can find out what their record is. It's decent. It's decent. Kevin's really good at Overwatch, and she's all right. That's all I'm gonna say. She's all right. It's not terrible. It's not the worst thing I've seen. Under reasonable circumstances. But Phil, when he unveiled, after he unpacked her rig and made it and let it get set up with the wireless, should have just gone with wired, and eventually he's gonna have to do it either way. He sets it up, and apparently he's very, very jealous of her rig when he fired it up. It's responsive. It's clean. It works well. She has a really nice monitor. It's a large monitor. And Phil started to get into his feelings a little bit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this comes on the wake of Phil saying that he's going to need a brand new television. All that time, ladies and gentlemen, him blaming lag for his, why'd I get hit? Oh, why'd I get swept? Oh, why'd I get hit with that super? Oh, I was blocking. Now, all of a sudden, it may not be lag on the other person's end. It might not be the other person cheating. It might not be the network anymore. It might be just his TV. A very outdated 2011 TV, to be exact. So Phil had to put out the edict that, hey guys, I might need a new television. It's the television's fault. It's an old TV. It doesn't have a great refresh rate. It doesn't have response time. I may need new television. I may just need a new television. So we'll see how the pig farm decides to go ahead and get that worked out. Now, on top of that, he's been on Twitter lately, not only glowing about his new girlfriend, but he's also been talking about, I'm thinking about going back to Dragon Ball FighterZ. What? Phil, you just quit that a couple weeks ago. Like 2 weeks ago, I think, to be exact. But Phil now has seen the error of his ways and has realized that PC might be the way to go. And realizing that if he can get a new television with a better response time, that he may be able to get back in there and get things cracking. So that's what Phil looks like he wants to do. We'll have to wait and see how that works out. And we'll see who pays for that. Hyping up her Overwatch skills. Now, let's talk about this romantic dinner. This dinner apparently was quite expensive. And despite everything that I've said to all of you up to this point, who is going to pay for this, ladies and gentlemen? Now, I'm not running for any type of political position or anything like that. But what I've told you here is just money being spent left and right. It's sex, lies, and just money. That's all this is. Who's going to pay for all this? Who did pay for all this? The jewelry, the nice dress. It has a lot of color to it, but that doesn't make it bad. It is what it is. The new car, allegedly, who's going to pay for all this stuff? Where's all the money going to come from this? All this disposable income. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there was a comment that was laid under a couple of videos, not just mine, but I also saw it under, I think I saw it under Tevin's, and I think I saw it under somebody else's, who it basically said the exact same thing about it's government taxes. Why do you keep giving this guy a hard time? For someone who has the government on his ass, he's spending rather liberally. He doesn't seem to have a problem with what he's doing. And why would he, when you have your followers believing that you're in such a state of panic that they have to help you no matter what, and you know that they're going to? Now, let's talk a little bit about Phil. Let's talk a little bit about Phil's situation. Twitch, ladies and gentlemen, is starting to tank. Last time I checked, well, last time I heard, he was at 516. Allegedly, he's at about 500. Patreon is barely making it. The subs and the bits and everything, he's been off the last couple days. He doesn't actually come back till Friday, if I remember correctly. So he's going through a little bit of a drought. So when he comes back Friday, I believe he comes back Friday, he's going to be in full begging mode, I should say. The hardcore begging season, as I had said on Twitter, is about to go into full action. And I'm anxious to hear what his excuse is, especially when that new car comes up. The reason why I say that, ladies and gentlemen, is because he has documented pretty much everything that him and Kat has done since she's gotten here. I mean, there are people online are trying to figure out her measurements, and they're coming up pretty close. Phil has already made a big mistake, a very, very big mistake, in what is his reoccurring circle. What I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, is when Leanna was introduced to us, it was almost the exact same way. Now, this is even different, because this is much different, because Kat lives with him. Leanna didn't at the time. She was just coming to stay with him one or two weekends a month. Something along those lines. He's pretty much exploiting this whole girl's life to us. Or this woman's life, I apologize. We're finding out more and more about her every day. Eventually, Phil's going to expose her. He's going to accidentally slip and say her real name. Yeah, he's going to accidentally say what state she's from. Eventually, this man's going to make these type of mistakes. And that's sad. It's very sad. Because all those precautions and all those things that were taken, apparently Phil himself wasn't factored into that. And that's a shame. So, as Phil is going off spending, he's also losing money on his business. His business isn't doing that well. It'd be different if he was already at the 500 sub mark, or sorry, at the 600, 650, 700 mark when it comes to subs. He's not there yet. So what are you going to do, Phil? Now, let's get into another aspect of this relationship. Why exactly is Kat there? Now, there's some interesting theories. I had posted one on Twitter, and someone had responded with a very decent response. And because of that, and because of some people who sent me some private messages and were like, hey, GTG, please don't go in on her. We don't know anything about her yet. You know, you seem like a decent enough guy. Please prove us right and do not dig into her. That's fair. I never had any intention to. Until she did something. Something worthy of it. Until then, there's no need to do that. As far as I'm concerned, she's the innocent. She's a civilian. And with that being said, and if we go by mafia law, no women, no children. So, as far as I'm concerned, she's not even on the table. I'm just reporting who she is and what she's about, at least for the moment. So, with that being said, we have a bit of an issue. We do have a bit of a problem. There are two frames of thought as it pertains to the situation. I think it needs to be put out there just because. Just for the sake of argument. Just for the sake of conversation. One possibility is Phil is using her as window dressing. She's merely there because Phil is tired of the backlash he keeps getting from Panda/Leanna. And how he's always being basically ragged on the fact that you couldn't even keep this girl together. You know, you couldn't even keep that relationship together. She was younger than you. She was pretty much under your control. And you let her go off and do her own thing. And she's much happier without you. It's possible that Kat is there for nothing more than to be a nan at Leanna. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is the same man that for, 4 months, wouldn't even go into Leanna's office, which is now Kat's office. He wouldn't even go in there and clean that stuff up. He keeps saying that, oh, I didn't have time. Oh, the dump, if the trash comes and get it, it's going to cost me an extra $30. Even though the Seattle dump is only like 20 minutes away from his house. And they'll take everything that he can fit into his car for like 15 bucks. Maybe 20. They'll take everything. All he has to do is get into the car and drive it down to the dump. They'll do everything else for him. Took him 3-4 months to go in there and clean any of that up. Sounds to me like someone who hasn't gotten over a relationship. But now he's got this young lady locked in. Now all of a sudden they can clean out the office together. Now, don't be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Phil has already propagated the situation that it took him 4 hours to do it. And he did clean up the mess. He did get a lot of her stuff out, and he's just waiting for Kat to get there, and they'll get everything else out. How do you think she's going to feel removing the woman that she replaced stuff out of there? Come on, Phil, you couldn't have some human decency and do it yourself? Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about Kat a little bit. She legit, like as I said before, she seems to be a generally nice person. She seems to be a decent person. And one of the frame of thoughts on Twitter is maybe she'll be able to change Phil for the better. Ladies and gentlemen, I've covered Phil long enough to know that that's not going to happen. But let's give this young lady the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what she's possibly capable of. Because to be honest with you, if you see her smile, no one has smiled in that house that big with that much enthusiasm in a very long time. Shouts out to Almighty Tevin for pointing that out. How long will that smile last, though? I guess we'll have to wait and see. With that also being said, though, if you want to play devil's advocate, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, she's just going to be another gold digger, so on and so forth. Is it even possible that she really has a job out there? Is it really that, is it some type of arrangement? Now, you may have not have heard the arrangement situation because I was the one that propagated that. Let me explain. What if I told you, and this is all just a possibility, that this is nothing more than just an arrangement? Let me start from the beginning. Phil and Kat actually met on Twitter over a problem that Kat was having with OBS. That's how their conversation started. She was having a problem, OBS shut off on her. Phil knows all about that. That's happened to him too. And that's essentially how their conversation worked out. That's how it kind of started, at least from what we've seen. And there you go. Now, with that being said, that's not enough to propagate or to even put her into a position to say that she's a gold digger. Not at all. But what if this is just an arrangement? Phil's feeling lonely. After talking to this young lady, maybe she was in a situation where she had to get out of whatever state she's from. She had to do it in the next few months. And they're like, hey, Phil's like, Phil looked at her and thought, she doesn't seem harmful. She may not hurt me. Why don't you move in with me and whatnot? We'll stream, we'll do all this, that, and the third. We'll share some of the responsibilities and we'll just act like we're a couple. It kind of gets me out of a pinch and this gets you some much needed publicity. You guys are probably being like, that's silly. And it is. I gotta admit, it is kind of silly. But think about this though, ladies and gentlemen. Since she's been unveiled, so to speak, Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter is growing. Now, is it monumental? Is she in the thousands for any one of these platforms? No. But she was in only the tens originally when she first started off. YouTube is almost up to 300 subs. I don't know how many followers she has on Twitter. Quite a few people that are actually, who come to this network are actually following her on Twitter. And her Twitch is slowly but surely trickling up as it pertains to followers, not subs. Like I said, she's been MIA off some of these platforms for the last 4 to 8 months. So in theory, I'm kind of right in the fact that she is getting a lot of growth. Now, in another video that I had done, I had talked about how this could work out as financially beneficial for the two of them. Kat is a bit of an enigma because we haven't found anything really about her personally up to this very moment. With that being said, oh shit. All right, screw it. We're just going to go along with it. Whatever happens, happens. Oh boy, I forgot about that. That song is blocked. Anyway, so it's very possible that they could turn this into a nice little cash cow between the two of them. She streams, he streams. Everybody wants to know a lot about her. People are going to want to know a lot about her. That's on Phil's end. People are going to really be going to her and being like, hey, how you doing? Yada, yada, yada. What's life like with Phil? How have you been so far? You know what I mean? How's things going? Yada, 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 yada. And she seems to be a bit of of a talkative person, not a chatterbox per se, but you know, she's one that speaks when she has something to say and doesn't talk just for the purpose of talking. Unlike myself, for example. So, it's very possible that they could go ahead and turn this into a nice little cash cow between the two of them. There could be some real money that could be made if they played their cards right on this. I'm just saying, just something to think about. So if you end up seeing Phil start streaming at, 12 o'clock, and then Kat, for whatever reason, starts streaming at about 1, and you see an influx of views on both of their ends, then you kind of understand why. Or if she comes back to streaming anytime over the next, let's say 3 months and whatnot, or back to social media or so on and so forth, you're going to see a lot of attention being thrown her way. Now, the question is Phil so arrogant? Does he think so little of himself emotionally? And is his confidence so low that he would try to keep her off of social media and off of these platforms to keep the attention on himself? Or would he be smart and let her go ahead and do her thing to bring more money into the household? Now, that goes back to the situation, does she have a job? There's no reason to think that she doesn't. We don't know, but there's no reason to think that she doesn't have a job. But let's say it's a lie, because just about everything about this young lady so far is a lie, for the most part. If that's the case, she doesn't have a job, and she really needs to somehow, bring in some income, streaming and making videos would be the best way to do it. And if she goes ahead and gets her, I don't know if she's signed to an MCN, but if she goes ahead and gets herself to sign up to Machinima, then there you go. And if she gets a decent enough growth, if she gets a lot of attention, she could work that out. But here's another thing. Let me just throw this out at you. Not necessarily a conspiracy, but just something to think about. Is it not possible that she could try to work her way into a kind of a position to be like, hey, would you guys consider bringing this person back in? Keep in mind, Phil's been gone from Machinima for a very long time. He's not going to get his managed partnership, nor do I expect her to get a managed partnership anytime soon. But she could probably try to get him back into the door. Now, granted, we all know, I know, you guys are going to be like, yo, GTG. He already says that he makes good money with Curse. And he doesn't even care about YouTube. YouTube's not his focus, even though he keeps complaining about views and the Google AdSense all the time. That's neither here nor there. Disregard that. But she could be his way of getting him back into the door with Machinima. Possibly. Because, let's be honest, even though he might be making decent money with Curse, and he is making about $46,000 a year, if he could go back to Machinima, he would. He would. Because it's comfortable, it's familiar to him. Pure and simple. It's something that he's familiar with, and he's comfortable with. But that's neither here nor there. Would Phil do that? Some people would say no. Something tells me that he would, if he given enough time. But we'll wait and see. That, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much the rundown on this relationship so far. Now, I have an extra tidbit here in my notes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going into a relationship with somebody, wouldn't you consider getting rid of some of the stuff that you have on Instagram and on YouTube with the old girlfriend in it? Let me explain. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in February. If I remember correctly, didn't Phil ask Leanna to marry him in April? And she said yes? So it hasn't even been a full calendar year since you got engaged that you ended up breaking up and you ended up going ahead and finding this new one. Okay, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? You're the Dennis Rodman of YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You all about your rebounds. No problem. Do you. Do you. But would you consider because Phil, he has to get his little bit of money off everything that he can get his hands on. Wouldn't you at least consider, if you don't want to delete the video, to at least, put it in private? Maybe the Instagram picture of her with the fake engagement ring and then the other ring, you would consider at least, at least taking that down? Something? Or you're just going to go ahead and whisk the new girlfriend up and in and just, disregard all that, sweetie, or honey, or trophy wife, or whatever he's calling her right now. Are you serious though, Phil? Is that what we're doing? Come on, Phil, you got to think about this. We got to use some intelligence here. We understand that it's very obvious that you're trying to put this girl into the forefront, just like you did with Leanna. Or as Almighty Tevin says, you're trying to sell this girl to us. But for Christ's sake, you could at least clean up the mess that you have over here. similar to that bedroom, or to Leanna's old office. You could spruce it up a little bit. You could straighten it up a little bit. But that's neither here nor there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just my initial report. There'll be a lot to come later on, I'm sure. If at least anything that's interesting, please let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear some of your feedback. I will have pictures throughout the video. I will have certain stuff from Twitter that I feel that is interesting to listen to, or would be interesting reads for you guys throughout the video. Tell me what you guys think. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on the initial concept of the girlfriend. She's been out for a couple days now. So what are your guys' initial responses? Should be great to see what you guys say and what you guys think. Ladies and gentlemen, we started this video on a very positive note with young Sean here. But let's go ahead and try to end this on a somewhat sad note, but hopefully somber. I'd like to go ahead and send an RIP out to the county in Florida that had the shooting recently. I actually had it on Valentine's Day, to be honest with you. The 17 people lost their lives in a shootout at a high school from a former student who, according to what some of the material that Mr. Medicare had put out on Twitter, which is from this guy's Facebook, that he was trying to recreate the same Valentine's Day massacre. Al Capone, Chicago. If you guys know anything about that, you could look it up. It's a terrible situation. Just send your thoughts and prayers out to those people and their families. And it's a shame that something like that happened. I just wanted to go ahead and end it off on that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. Someone said I should have a tagline, and I think I have one. Ladies and gentlemen, life comes to you fast. And Sean, you definitely want to pick this up, young man. Life comes at you very, very fast. Make sure that your next move is your best move. This is GTG signing off. End the broadcast.